Certainly a pleasure to be with you today. Certainly appreciate the opportunity to talk with you, visit with you. Of course, I realize a couple of things. When you're a speaker, you do have to recognize what your position is and the audience and the environment, right, that you're going to speak to. So here's what I know. It's Monday afternoon. It's 12:34. Most of you have already had lunch. It's sort of cloudy and dreary and drizzly outside. You just had lunch. It's 12:34. All of this means about the same thing, right? Time for nap. I got it. I get that. So one of my primary goals is to make sure that you stay awake, right? If I can do that, I have achieved at least partial success in this speech. We'll see how the rest goes. So again, we are all here, and make sure we're on the same page, because a lot of us come in, and you come in from a variety of places, right? You came from work, or you came from class, or you came from your apartment and you're about to go to class. So everybody's at different places, and we're all watching our phones, right? Texting and messaging and going on Google and searching this, searching that. So to make sure we're all on the same page, we're going to do a really short exercise. Very, very easy. Y'all are smart. They told me you were smart, so I know you can do this. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, go, and we're going to slap our hands together in unison, right? This is Lamar University, for crying out loud, right? Y'all can do this. You ready? Make sure your hands are clear, because here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. We may actually be here longer than an hour based on that performance. You know what's really funny is that I've been in Beaumont, grew up in Kirbyville, so just to tell you, I came from the woods to the big city, right? I finally made my way to the big city. Went to Kirbyville High School, 95 graduates in that class, so big class. But been here 4 years, spoken to a lot of people, hundreds of presentations, and I almost always start with the same exercise. And people hear me over and over and over again. In 4 years, speaking in front of thousands of people, 2 people have waited until I said go. Why? Because this is free. You don't even have to pay for this. People know more attention pay to what you do than what you say. Exactly right. Most people get in the biggest trouble when their words and their actions are different. Keep that in mind. Which is a lot about ethics. And it's a lot about what you believe. It's a lot about your value system. So I also understand that, when you come to a presentation, okay, we're going to be here for an hour on ethics. Oh my gosh, kill me now, man, right? I mean, how? Oh, geez. 5 minutes, I could tell you, right? Do the right thing. That's it. But then that wouldn't last an hour, right? And I couldn't charge a big speaker's fee, of which they pay me. No, so, do the right thing. Brief background commercial about Better Business Bureau. Show of hands, how many of you have used the Better Business Bureau before? How many of you know of the Better Business Bureau? Thank you, more hands. Very good. We still have work to do. The Better Business Bureau is a business trade association, nonprofit, and our job is to help, to advance ethics in the marketplace. We want to be the leader in advancing marketplace trust. What we're trying to create is a marketplace where consumers and businesses trust each other. We want businesses to get better, and we want consumers to find businesses they can trust. We're going to talk about some stories today about non- or unethical businesses and what happens out in the marketplace. That's what we do. We do that by providing ratings on all businesses. The BBB in Southeast Texas covers 8.5 counties. That's our service area. Hardin, Jefferson, Orange, Chambers, Liberty, Jasper, Newton, Bolivar Peninsula of Galveston County. So we cover a large area. We report on all those businesses. We provide ratings on those businesses, A+ through F. Everybody's been in school. That's a really clear understanding. A+ is good, F, bad. It's always bad. Bad business, right? Unethical business. We also help businesses get better by networking, marketing, right? Marketing. Yeah. So helping businesses improve their business, improve their customer service. We are a standards-based organization. A lot of people see the Better Business Bureau as just like the Chamber of Commerce. In some sense, we are similar. We're based on business. Here's the difference. Chambers typically revolve around the city. The Beaumont Chamber of Commerce, Orange Chamber of Commerce, Jasper Chamber of Commerce. And we are more regional. The other big difference is that we are standards-based. A business cannot come to us today and open today and say, I want to be a member of the BBB. How much does it cost? Who do I write the check to? They can't do that. They can apply, but then we check out their standards. Do they meet the standards? Ethical standards. Do they resolve complaints? Do they have complaints? Are they properly licensed? What's the background of the owners? We vet them. The board approves them. They have to meet a certain criteria, certain standards. So we hold these businesses to these standards. And we try to honor businesses who do right. In addition to that, we also try to get ethical discussions into our schools, like Lamar University, like the high schools that you've been to, like the junior highs, because we believe that ethics is a key to not only life, but how you perform in business, whatever job you have for whomever you work. So, enough of the commercial. This is really a discussion which requires two sides. This is not a lecture. If I lecture, you'll be asleep in 5 minutes. We don't want to do that. So let me ask you a question. When I ask questions, I'm going to want feedback. If I don't get feedback, you do get a lecture. And that's not good. You don't want that. So, question for you. What is, in your mind, what is the single greatest factor in determining your success in your chosen field? Pipe fitter, plumber, accountant, marketing, CEO, HR. What is the single greatest factor in determining your success in your chosen field? Don't say ethics, character, morals, values. Other than that, what do you think the biggest factor is in the success of an individual in their field? Ready for answers.
How well you provide a service or product that fits your customers' needs.
Well said. That's good. What else? You have to provide a service. If you don't provide a service that customers want, they typically won't buy from you.
Treat your employees the right way.
Treat your employees the right way.
Came out with a good product. Treat your people right. But it should be anything in life.
Okay? But I thought the customer was always right. And you're saying treat your employees right.
You're only as good as your employees, sir.
What do you think? See, a lot of people in business make that decision. Are employees most important or customers most important? I work for, and it's a great point. That's why I wanted to jump on that. I worked, prior to being at the BBB, I worked for UPS for 11 years. When people get hired at UPS, other than drivers, people are hired for the same position. Every single person hired at UPS. Loader, unloader. I've loaded trucks, loaded trailers, unloaded trailers, delivered trucks, delivered packages, picked up packages. And UPS is a great organization. They do a great customer service job. They are fantastic, actually. The reason they're so good is that they put a focus on customers, right? Every package, every day, figure out a way, get it delivered. Don't bring it back. And that's good, except that customers come first over employees. That creates a problem. Okay? That was a real aside. That's not even in the script for today, but that's how it works. So, what else is an important factor in determining your success in your chosen field?
Vision.
Vision? Tell me more. What does that mean?
Practically, whenever you're starting with anything in a business, you have a vision what the business should be taken up to what level, or what are the standards you are going to give to the business. So when you aim for a longer vision that is divided into the mission into multiple parts and driving your whole unit every day with the same amount of focus and energy to complete one one phase to second phase to third phase, and finally reaching the global vision what you have.
To the vision.
So,
Yeah. You know, here's an interesting point. That's a really good point. Most people believe that the CEO, the people at the top, the big boss, has to have the vision, right? Here's where we're going to go. Got to create a plan. You know what's also interesting, though, is that in a similar way, whatever job you have at whatever level, if you were sweeping the floor, you need to have a vision for what you are going to do at that job in that company. Because if you don't have a vision for where you're going to go, you know what's going to happen? You're going to go to work every day, you're going to do the same thing. And then tomorrow you're going to come back and do the same thing again. And 2 weeks, and 3 weeks, and 4 months, and a month. And then people end up 20 years doing the same thing, but they don't have 20 years experience. They have 1 year experience 20 times because they did the same thing. They didn't have a vision for where they were going to go as an individual. It's a great point. Got to have vision. What else? Got some great points so far.
Profit.
One more time.
Profit.
Tell me more.
Like the money that you earn, that you make, like that was profit.
Profit. Sure. There is a person, just a minute, there is a person many years ago that said the basic job of a business is to make a profit. Because if businesses don't make a profit, what happens? Go out of business, right? And if I don't make a profit and I go out of business, then all my employees are on the job. Okay, that's not a good thing. The basic job of a business is to stay in business. And yes, that's not their focus. Their focus is on providing a service. But if they don't provide a service to make a profit, they don't stay in business. Sure. Okay, got to make a profit. What else? Back up here.
Entrepreneurship ability, going beyond bounds, sometimes even outside of your job description, to help the business grow.
Very good. If a person shows entrepreneur ability, initiative, take the initiative to do something else besides their job, in addition to their job, do you think those people are going to be more or less valuable to the organization?
More valuable.
More valuable. That's easy. Has it ever happened to you, or how many times has it happened to you, that you go to a business and you have a problem, you have a question, and the person you're asking says, "That's not my job." Okay, how helpful is that? It's like, look, really, it doesn't matter if it's your job or not. I'm not asking you if it's your job. I've got a problem. I need some help. If it's not your job, that actually is an irrelevant statement. I don't need to know that. What I need to know is, how do I solve my problem? Can you get me to somebody who can help me, right? But instead what you get is, well, I'm sorry, that's not my department. Great. So where do I go? I don't know. Strike one, strike two, strike three, right? People, when you are in business, people want help. They come to you for help. You might not know, but you need to find out for them, right? How meaningful is it? Go to any store. Could be a hardware store, huge hardware store, right? You sort of know what you need, but you're not sure. I think I need a thingamajig for the dealy bob. And the person who's there, you really don't know where it is in the store. You haven't gotten it before. So the person in the store says, I think it's over that way. And then you go wandering off, right? Another 15 minutes. The difference between that and, I think it's on aisle 6. Let me take you over there and let me show you. Or they get you to the person in that department who's the expert who can help you. Completely different experience. Right? Entrepreneurship, initiative, going above and beyond. Classic example. We get calls at the BDD all the time for about many, many different things. One of the classic calls we got was, Eliza Jones answers the phone, been there 23 years, our longest term employee, one of our best employees. That's why she's at the front desk. Miss Eliza, what are the hours of the state fair? I don't know. We're not the telephone company, you know. The average person would have told that customer, "Man, I don't know. Look it up." That's not what Miss Eliza said. Miss Eliza said, "You know what? I'm not sure. Let me look it up for you, and I'll find out." Right? Could the customer have looked it up? Absolutely. But that's not why the customer called. The customer called for help. Initiative. Taking initiative. Going beyond your job. That was a great point. What else? Yes?
Location.
Okay, tell me what that means.
I mean, not to like talk down where you're from, but like, let's say you start.
But he's about to talk down where I'm from, right? That's the lead into, I don't want to say something that's going to offend you, but I'm about to tell you something that's going to offend you. That's exactly what
Just
I'm
like starting a business in Kirksville, and just, I mean, like saying you moved up to Beaumont, it'd be more successful being in Beaumont than Kirksville, or Beaumont instead of Houston. Depending on the business. I mean, not saying it couldn't be successful in a smaller town, but you have better chances.
Location is very important in the success of a business. That is true. I would agree with that. I'm going to offer, and all this stuff is not even in the script, right? I'm just going by what you're telling me. I'm going to offer a counterpoint. He is right. There are businesses in Kirbyville that will not be successful until they get to a bigger market with more customers, more traffic flow. You got to have, if your business is based on traffic flow, you got to have customers.
The clientele demographic is important.
If they can't find you, you're not going to have a great business, right? Now, sometimes it's not based on traffic flow. It's based on internet or online or things like that. A counterpoint that's an important point I want you to think about. Kirbyville is incredibly small. My dad was a state trooper for 30 years. He got assigned to Jasper. That's why we came to Kirbyville. Being a police officer, Kirbyville was too big for us. We could not live in Kirbyville. We had to live outside of town, 8 miles out of town on 50 acres. Here's what, and I know this because I grew up there. Many of us that grow up in Southeast Texas grow up with a similar mindset. As soon as I graduate, I'm out of here. I am not coming back. This is a podunk town. I can't stand that everybody knows my business, right? How many of you have said something like that in the last 5 years? That's what I knew it. I knew it. That's how I understand that, right? You graduate this really small town, really small. Everybody knows each other. I can't stand it anymore. I've got to get out of here. I understand. Are there opportunities to make more money in Houston or bigger cities than there are in Beaumont, Silsbee, Lumberton, Deweyville, Mauriceville, wherever you're from, Kirbyville? Absolutely. Something to consider. And I didn't know this until a lot later on. Now, the thing that often is a negative often is a positive, right? So you grew up in your town. You know, when you're in high school, you know everybody. I mean, I know everybody in my class. I know everybody in town. I know their parents. And that's what drives a lot of kids to the big city. Bigger city. Can't stand it. Got to get out of here. It's too small. Here's what they leave. And it's just a point, right? It's fine to go. And there's a great opportunity in Houston and Dallas and Austin. When they leave the town they're in, they know everybody. Everybody knows them. Parents know them. They know the parents. And that's the problem. When they go to a big city, how many people they know? Zero. How many people know them? Zero. So what kind of network, what kind of relationships, what kind of support network, again, what kind of business network do they have when they get to that big city? Zero. What a lot of us forget is this network that I have here, even though I can't stand it because it's so small and everybody knows my business, if you can leverage that, I'm not saying stay. You may not want to stay, and that's fine. But a lot of people leave Beaumont for that very reason. And what they leave when they go is they leave an incredible network of that when they're here and they stay, they might not know everything, but whatever question they have, they know who to call who has the answer. In business, that's incredible. If you're in Houston, you don't have a clue to Christmas as to who to call. I'm not saying which one's better. I'm saying don't leave the network because you're thinking about all the yahoos and knuckleheads in your high school class. I know you are. But all those yahoos and knuckleheads grow up and they eventually get some sense. And that becomes an incredible network that you lose. I'm just being honest. Okay? A point. But that's a good point. Location is very important in business. Something else.
Flexibility.
Flexibility. Wow, I like that. I think I know, but tell me more.
A product should be keep changing according to the requirement of customers.
There are a lot of businesses. If you look at the businesses in 1900, there were 100, let's say, or the Fortune 500 in 1900. I don't know the exact figures, but probably 450 of those are not even in existence now. Why? Because they didn't change. Kodak, I heard this recently, and there's some really good points. Kodak, Polaroid film, had the lion's share, the monopoly of the photography market. But they're out of business. Why did they go out of business? Because they didn't pick up on digital. They said that digital thing, out of business. Blockbuster. How many people remember Blockbuster? Okay, you may remember it in your history books, right? When you're young, that's going way back. Man, people would flock to Blockbuster to go get their movies, right? Blockbuster. Why? Because they didn't understand online and streaming of videos and Netflix. I did not know this until about a week ago. Did you know that Blockbuster had the opportunity to buy Netflix? And they said, not going to mess with that. You got to be flexible and change. You can do the same thing today that you did yesterday, but eventually the customers are going to go in a different direction. You got to follow that. Okay, what else? So that, yes, ma'am.
Trust factor. Trust factor.
Tell me more.
Yes, if we have trust factor in the environment, in the working environment, then the work will be flawless. Otherwise, there will be chaos if we don't have trust with each other in the environment.
Okay? Mistrust is difficult to work with. If you're working with a group of people where there is great trust, you know that you have each other's back, right? I know that we're all working in the same direction. Trust is a huge factor. If you don't have trust, it is not going to be a comfortable environment because you really don't know. I don't really know if I can tell that person this because I don't know if they're trustworthy or not. Or I don't know if I can trust so-and-so to do their job. So all of those things are very important in the success of your business or in your success in your business. I'm going to jump off that trust point and head to another direction. In 4 years, going on 5 years here in Beaumont, I've talked to a lot of business owners, not everybody, but it's my job to be out in the community. So business owners have told me a couple of things about Southeast Texas. One, the economy is excellent. I understand price of oil is down. I get that. But we lose perspective sometimes. We fail to realize what we have here. When you think of Beaumont, Texas, and I know because I grew up in Kirbyville, and we're thinking, this is the smallest, hickest place. I can't stand it. I got to get out of here. Do you understand what Beaumont has? Interstate system, a rail system, a pipeline, a port, a waterway, an airport. If you looked, and I know you have, if you look at a map of the United States, and you look at all the pipelines running all over the United States, you know where most of them end up? Right here. Energy capital of America. There are thousands of communities that would kill for what we have. and the opportunity and the economy. Yes, it is dependent on oil, and there are times when we are affected by that. So, they've told me economy's great. Man, business is great. I could grow my business. And this is florists, this is roofers, this is plumbers, this is swimming pool contractors. They said, I could grow my business, but I can't. In fact, some of them told me I could do $1 million more worth of work this year, but I can't for 2 reasons. One, I can't find people to hire. And I can't find people that I trust to do the job. That is a shame. I can't find people who will come to work every day, on time, 100%, who will pass a drug check, and who I can put out on a job and I can trust them to do the job. That's what is preventing our growth and preventing a lot of people from moving up in their jobs. Your decisions, whether it's what you do, your ethics, your values, avoiding criminal prosecution, doing things that keep you out of trouble, is a huge difference, right? As an employer, Better Business Bureau, we are not perfect people. We are flawed people that work there. But when I look to hire somebody, I'll look at resume first, right? I interview. Great skills, great personality. I think they're going to represent BBB well. Then I send them for a drug check and a background check. If they have a positive hit on a drug check, or they have a criminal background that I don't think represents our company well, I'm not judging the person. They might be an awesome person, but they're not going to work for me. I'm not going to take that risk. I'm telling you, your choices have an impact. So, success in business for you, and this involves ethics, values, morals, choices. If you would like to get ahead of 95% of the rest of the workforce, everybody, you know what you need to do? Show up to work every day, on time, ready to work. You give 100%, and you're committed to the success of the company. That's it. And I didn't talk anything about education, skills, any of that. I'm telling you, if you're a person who shows up to work every day, on time, positive attitude, and you give 100%, you move ahead of 95% of the people. Here's an example. In college, and I still do the same because of my job, right? We go to a lot of fast food places. You go to fast food, you go through the drive-thru. How easy is it for you to tell if there is a person in the drive-thru that doesn't like their job? It is clearly apparent. Welcome to McDonald's, what do you want? What? Yeah, I mean, $6.95 the window, pull around. Hand you the change. Don't count the change. Nobody ever counts change anymore. You notice that. They say, what? Here's your change. They never count the change. Nobody knows how to count change now. That's an aside. That's not in the script either. So, on occasion, you will find a person in the drive-thru window that blows your socks off with their service. Good morning. Welcome to so-and-so. I am so glad you are here. What can I get for you today? Excellent choice. We'll be happy to get that. Would you like anything else with that? If you'll pull around, I'll have your total at the window. Thank you so much for coming. That is not that hard. But it blows us away because it's so different. And I'm not giving a commercial here, but this person is on our board of directors. Chick-fil-A. Almost always, not always, but almost always, same customer service. Thank you so much for coming. It's my pleasure to serve you. That's a fast food place. Now, when you find somebody at a fast food place in the drive-thru window that gives you that kind of customer service, you know what that tells you? One thing. They're not going to be there very long. Because one, they're going to move them up to a different position. They will not stay in the drive-thru window. Or somebody else is going to hire them. Another secret. As a business owner, we have a small organization, about 10 full-time and 3 part-time people. We've had a lot of interns from Lamar come through and work for us. When I'm out in the public, I am constantly looking for people to hire because I want the very best people working for me. I don't care where they are, at the bank, drive-through, fast food place, at the JCPenney, doesn't matter. I'm looking for quality people. And when I find them and I see consistent service, you know what happens? I'm going to give them my business card. Say, if you ever want another job, why don't you give me a call? Because I look for quality people. And did you know that business owners all across this town and this area constantly do that? They're looking for good people to work for them. So, 95%, all you have to do, show up on time every day, 100%, do your job, contribute to the success, and care. If you want to move ahead of 98% of the workforce, I don't care where you went to school. It doesn't matter. Do all those things I talked about, and then show initiative. Somebody said it up here. Ask, what can I do to help? What else can I do to help? Is there something else I can do to help you? Is there training I could take? Is there learning? Are there courses? Is something online? What can I do to better myself? And part of that comes with vision. Do I have a vision for what I want to do for this company? And maybe I don't want to work here for 20 years. But you know what also happens when you do that? You develop your skills as a person so that you avail yourself of other opportunities. Maybe you don't want to work for McDonald's or Chick-fil-A or whatever all your life. But when you develop your skills as a leader and characteristics of a leader, you're going to get other opportunities. When you're out in the work world, and all of you have been or will be soon, you will find that there are people who are very bitter people. And they will say, well, why is so-and-so getting promoted? She's only been here 6 months. I've been here 2 years. Why? Because the person here 6 months has taken initiative. As soon as they got in the door, what training do you have? What can I learn? What skills what schools can you send me to? What else can I do? How can I help? Those are people who are going to get promoted. Those other people, 10 years from now, they're going to still be in the same position, still bitter about everybody else getting promoted, how the boss has it in for me. No, that's not what it is. It's about making yourself better. And that's about ethics and morals. Okay, next question. Also want your responses. I want you to think about the greatest ethical failures that you know about in history. This could be political, could be sports, could be business. So tell me of a great ethical failure, a person that you know about, or you've heard about, or you've read about. I'm open for answers.
Back in the 80s, I think it was, or 90s, you remember the two guys, Milli Vanilli? They had the lip sync thing. Yeah. And they got busted for that.
Sure did. That was a huge scandal, right? And I just heard about that in fact, very recently, that it was at the Emmys or Oscars or whatever it was, and they found out, they had lip synced at some of their performances and albums and things like that. That was a huge scandal. But they were the media darlings. They were it. Of course, most of all these other people are too young to remember that, right? It's like, I think I've heard about them way back in the, I get that. I get it. Lip sync, man, it was a huge scandal. You're exactly right. Now, did they have some talent? Well, they had some because they were able to at least act like it, right? Or they had the moves down or whatever. But in trying to take the shortcut, they lost everything, right? You'll see that consistently in the stories that are told here in just a minute. What else? Another ethical failure that you know about, that you've heard about. Somebody else. Yes, ma'am.
We actually just learned about this one in business law. Standard Oil, Rockefeller, how he made it look with the oil spill. Am I saying that right? No, wrong guy. Is it Rockefeller?
Tell me more. I'm following.
Standard Oil, the oil spill that they had, how he made it look look like it wasn't his fault. He made it would be everybody else's fault. Instead of doing a social thing, it was me.
That was huge. You're talking about British Petroleum, BP?
Yes, thank you. That's
Yeah.
what I'm for.
Man, boy, was that a classical failure from the media, right? BP oil spill. You know, the oil well blew out under the ocean, and like hundreds of thousands of gallons of oil were just spewing out. Nobody knows how to cap it. It took weeks to cap it. It was horrible. All, along the Gulf Coast, environmental disaster, millions and billions of dollars. I mean, if you read about it in history books, or maybe some of you are old enough to remember it, that was awful. It was a terrible situation. And the company's responsible. This guy, and I understand it, as humans, we get tired, we get frustrated. He actually, if you remember this, he actually said on a media interview, they said, well, God, it's a terrible situation. I know your company feels bad, but, how are y'all handling this? You know what he said? In front of millions of people. He said, I'm tired of this. I want a weekend. Oh. Okay, well, you just destroyed millions of acres of coastline. You put tons of people out of work. You killed the shrimping and the fish and everything else industry, right? Was he speaking honestly about how he felt? Absolutely. Did he need to say that? Absolutely not. That's not what people want to hear. They don't care, right? Hey, look, we don't have a weekend either. I don't have a job because you just killed all the fish out there. I don't have anything to shrimp for or fish for. I'm not really worried about your weekend, man. So, ethics, you're right. The right thing. And this is another great point. When you're in business, when you own your business or run your business, or maybe you're providing service to a customer, at the Better Business Bureau, we work a lot of complaints between consumers and businesses. Most of those complaints would be prevented if the business owner did one thing: take responsibility. And that's all they're asking this guy to do. It's like, look, I understand you didn't cause this to happen. I just want you to say, I'm sorry, I'm taking responsibility, we're going to do everything we can to fix it, we are going to be there and support these people. That's what they want to hear. Customers want to hear, I'm sorry that happened. Let me see what I can do to make it right. Versus what you get from a lot of people in customer service. Well, it's not my fault. It's not my fault you picked out the wrong thing. It's not my fault. You must have done something to break it. Or you're just trying to get a refund because you want the money back. You don't deserve the money back. Customers want to hear, I'm sorry, what can I do to make it better? How can I resolve this for you? That's all they want to hear. That's a simple thing. Most complaints would be prevented if business owners would do that. Great example right here in our area. Another example of an ethical failure. There are millions of them out there. What else?
The Nike sweatshops and how they were going to like Indonesia to do the low income or like I guess hire people for low income instead of hiring people in America.
And terrible working conditions.
Yeah.
Child labor.
Very unethical.
Very unethical. Why do they do it?
More profit, and that's all.
And, when you make a profit in business, there are two ways to make a profit. Raise the revenue, lower the cost, lower the expense. So if I can do both, if I can increase my revenue and lower the expense, we're good. Now they're not very happy about what happened, are they? Right? That kind of media, terrible through social media. But often you'll find businesses cut corners, right? You know what? If we move this plant from America to X country, it'd be a whole lot cheaper. We'll make a better profit. True, until maybe this is found out and then you don't. What's another one? Those are great examples. Yes, ma'am.
The Ford car that they said, like they knew it was going to kill people if they rode in it, if like they got in a wreck, and they pushed it through anyways.
Right. Why would anybody do that?
Because
I mean, think about that. And ethical failures typically don't come with this kind of question. But a lot more times than not, it has a form of this. So, and this occurs in various cars. So, we have a car. The engineers, the quality control people start raising questions. Like, hey, I'm telling you there's a problem with the whatever part on this car. Okay. What is it going to cost to fix that and retrofit and change what we're doing? Don't think these discussions don't happen in the high levels of business. So what's our risk by letting this car go through? How many defects do we think we have? 1 out of 100, 1 out of 1,000, 1 out of 100,000. So those people are not choosing to kill people, right? It's like, I'm going to kill 18 people. They say, what's our profit going to be versus our risk? So you're telling me about 1 every 100,000 cars has a possible defect. Versus what it's going to cost to recall those cars, fix it. I think we can live with that. See, in the light of day, when the 18 people are killed, it doesn't look like such a great decision. In fact, it looks like a horrible decision. But businesses all the time, that is an ethical decision, right? I'm not choosing to kill people, although that's what it sounds like afterwards. It's like, what's my profit going to be based on my risk? And that comes out a lot of times until later. Because I'm telling you, with quality control, they know those things years in advance. It's like we've got a possible risk in the seat belt or the steering wheel or the tires or the whatever. There are certain defects. And they choose that. Good point. What's another one? Great ideas, yeah.
Volkswagen, it was similar, but it wasn't a safety issue. If they left a part off, it would increase the performance of the car, but it would harm the environment.
It's the emission?
Yeah.
Emission thing? That was a great one, sure. Okay, so nobody in their right mind would run a company and say, I want to pollute the environment as much as I can. I mean, that's ridiculous. Especially in today's world. Nobody's going to come out with a press release saying, we are going to pollute the heck out of the environment. That's not what they're going to say. But in this case, they put software, right, on the cars to cheat the emissions tests to get them to pass. Even though they know that it's going to harm the environment. Because it made sense for profit. An ethical decision. Now they found out, let's see what happens. You know, they could be up for billions and billions of dollars of lawsuits. Depending on how bad it gets or how high that chain of command goes, you know, that company could go out of business, actually. Because I'm going to make a profit today, and I'm going to take my risk for damage tomorrow. Good one. What's another one? I'll give you a couple of examples that I thought about. Lance Armstrong, sports, bicycle racer. Some of you are familiar, some of you not. Lance Armstrong's probably one of the greatest athletes in our history, just from a physical standpoint. He beat a certain type of cancer that he probably should have died from, right? And he survived. But he said, I'm going to continue to race. The Tour de France is the most difficult bicycle race in the world. And it's 20 stages, and it's through the mountains, the Alps, the whatever. Incredibly difficult. So he beat cancer, right? And he won the Tour de France. I mean, it's an amazing, inspiring story. He became the spokesperson, the bracelets, Live Strong, right? Great example. I mean, they raised millions of dollars for cancer research. That's not a bad thing. And then, amazingly, he won like 2 or 3 in a row. That never happens. I mean, The man is a physical freak of nature because of his oxygen that he can take in. And then the story started coming out that he was cheating, taking performance-enhancing drugs. And a lot of times when you hear that, you're thinking, well, all these detractors, right? They're just trying to bring me down. They're just trying to rain on my parade. And Lance Armstrong, and y'all know the story, but he viciously defended that. In fact, he destroyed most of the people who brought those charges against him. He took them down and destroyed their career. 7 Tour de France's in a row he won. And what was interesting, and this personally, because I was a huge supporter of Lance Armstrong, I thought he was just fantastic. And then the truth came out. That's true. That's how he won all 7 of them. Cheating. And ethical failures happen this way for you and me and everybody else. Not because Lance Armstrong did not wake up one day and say, you know what? I'm going to win 7 Tour de France's in a row, and the way I'm going to do it, I'm going to cheat my way to the top. Nobody thinks like that, right? That's not the point. Recover from cancer, it's an incredibly competitive environment. I think I might need an edge, right? Most of the people in cycling at one time or another have taken performance-enhancing drugs, so worth the risk. And he won. Man, now I got to repeat. Got to repeat. Man, better take some more. Man, 2, now I've won 3 in a row. But now they're starting to question. Man, I have to win another one just to prove them wrong. Well, the only way to win, cheat. So 7 Tour de France's in a row, and then now he looks like a fool because, and all these kids and everybody else that looked up to him as this big example, and all that's lost. Nobody remembers you won 7 Tour de France's. What do they remember? You cheated. See, you lose that. And it happens by small decisions every day. You and I are not Lance Armstrong. But we are people just like him, and we make decisions every day that make us more or less ethical. Here's another one. Joe Paterno, again, sports. I like sports. A lot of times I go back to that. But Joe Paterno. Joe Paterno was the head coach of the Penn State University, the winningest coach in college football history. Won more games than anybody else. Was an institution. Was highly regarded as a developer of young people and was revered. I mean, was at the pinnacle of coaches in college football history. And most of you know this story again. He had an assistant coach named, I think it was Jerry Sandusky. Well, Jerry Sandusky, for whatever reason, basically, and not to be crude here, but he was a child molester. And Joe Paterno found out about it. And Joe Paterno reported it to the authorities on campus, but did not report it to the police. And part of the reason, I'm not saying I know everything about it, but part of the reason was he did not want to harm Penn State football. It's like, this is too big. Do you understand what we've built over all these years? That would destroy this campus. Can't happen. Let's just try to get him to not do it, or not do it on campus. You know, I mean, that just, no. Again, Joe Paterno did not wake up one day and say, you know what? Child molestation's okay. That's ridiculous. Nobody would even think that in their right mind. But the impact of his decision was the same. And it did destroy Penn State football. And will destroy it for decades. In fact, Joe Paterno died shortly after he was fired. And they also took down his statue and everything else that was there. Everything he built was gone because he made a wrong choice. That's ethics. And it's small choices. Again, it's not saying harming a child is okay. Nobody's going to say that. But it's like, man, if I bring this up, this is going to tear us apart. Well, yeah, it sure did. And now you're the one on the hook because you didn't say anything about it. So ethics. And ethics in business. Let me tell you about, quickly, some ethical failures in business that I know about. Here's a classic one. This one happened right here in Beaumont, actually. Lady had a problem with her car, had a used car, older car, and the transmission was slipping, right? Slipping in and out of gear. She said, man, I got to get this checked out. This actually happened, true story. So she goes to a transmission shop that advertises free transmission check. Now, if I told you free transmission check, how much do you think that costs?
0.
Okay. Free is a real simple concept, right? Free, 0. It's a real simple thing. Free, 0. So she gets the transmission check, and as you would suspect, because this often happens at repair shops, he comes out and he says, man, you got a problem. He said, you're going to need a new transmission. This thing's shot. He said, I don't even think you could drive it home. She said, oh, God, that's terrible. How much is that going to cost? He said, well, for your car, for this make, a rebuilt transmission, about $3,000. That actually was a fair price. And aside. She said, oh my gosh, I don't have that kind of money. And he said, used car, I can't afford that. I'm not going to put that kind of money in a used car. I think I'll just, try to drive it home and just figure out what I'm going to do from there. That's fine now, no problem. That'll be $895. Wait a minute. Hold the phone. Free transmission check. I signed up for the free transmission check. Oh, yes, ma'am, I understand that. But to put your transmission back together is going to cost $895. Wait a minute. Are you telling me you tore my transmission? Oh, yes, ma'am. Everybody knows to do a complete check, you got to tear it apart. Nobody told me that. Well, ma'am, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if somebody didn't tell you, but that's $895. She said, what am I supposed to do? He said, pay the $895. She said, I don't have $800. She said, you got a problem. So she came to the BBB with her complaint. This was not an accredited business, by the way. And so we sent the complaint to the business and say, our job is not to tell business consumers what to do or who's right or wrong, but how do we resolve it? That's what we focus on. How do we resolve it? The business's answer, Boy Scout time, this is exactly what they said. Tell you what we'll do, ma'am. For $400, we'll put all the parts in a box. You can tow it out of here. Your car. Okay, that helps me how, right? And that's what they said. I think she eventually did that. But that is, unfortunately, that is a common practice among repair shops. Because why? Most consumers, when faced with that choice, will do what? They'll pay the $895. It's like, look, this is my only car. I have to have a car. I guess I'll sell something, I'll scrape, I'll get a loan, I'll do whatever. I got to have a car. They know that, and they know you're going to pay it. That is unethical. 2 more. One, and both of these were probably the 2 biggest scams that came out of so far since I've been here. The first, and these often start the same way. People call the BBB with a complaint, with a concern. And it's usually a concern about a relative, not their concern. So they called and they said, man, I'm concerned about my grandmother, my auntie, my uncle. They said they gave somebody, get this, their checking account number and their social security number. Like, oh my God, why would they do that? Well, a big red flag, right? Don't ever give that away. So they said, well, they met with somebody who said they were from the government, and part of the stimulus package was Social Security, disability refund. They could qualify for it. All they needed was this information. We thought, what? What is that? Stimulus package I got, man. I understand that. But I don't understand this part. So it kept going on. We kept getting calls about this. We thought, man, what in the world's going on? So one of the classic things about scams is that when people get scammed, it's very difficult for us to get them to talk about it. Why do you think that is? Embarrassed. Embarrassed. Because people think, I can't believe I did that. I know better than that. And they don't want anybody to know about it. So finally we got somebody to come in and tell us the story. Here's what was going on. They had people throughout Southeast Texas that were called recruiters, and they were getting this information from folks. Social Security number, checking account number. And here's the worst, here are the 2 terrible parts of this scam. one, people did get money out of it, and two, they used the faith-based community, churches, synagogues, other places of faith, to build it. So what would happen, what we finally found out was, they were getting this information, and they were sending this information to a company in Dallas called Siam Tax Service. Siam Tax Service was filing tax returns for all these people without their knowledge. And they were qualifying them for Social Security refunds. Well, when the government sent the refund, the company split it. Half to the consumer, half to the business. Great business model, right? Man, what a great way to do it. And it was terrible because people were getting money out of it. Well, if Sister Hattie, that you've known for 80 years from your church, is telling you that she got money for it, well, you darn well are going to believe her. I mean, I would trust her with my life. They had folks lined up around the block at the congregation. I mean, they had service, right? And these people would flock in there and give them their Social Security number, their account number, because all it was true, because they got money out of it. Here's the problem. When the IRS started auditing the tax returns, right? It's like, well, wait a minute, you don't qualify for this. And they went back to get all of the money. Who did they go to? The consumer. Because whose Social Security number is on it? Consumer. Now we got a problem. If you mess up with the IRS, you're in trouble. And that's not a good thing. So we eventually were able to prove that. Social Security Administration, IRS, aging agency, a lot of other people finally, stopped the person. But this was millions of dollars that they embezzled from the IRS. Last one I'll tell you about. This also happened right here in Beaumont, right on East Tex Freeway. We got calls from consumers. I know we're almost done. Calls from consumers that, again, real concerned. My auntie, my grandmother, they're upset. They signed this contract. They're upset about it. And again, very difficult for people to talk about it. In fact, we finally got one gentleman to come in to tell us what happened. And as God is my witness, here's what he said. He said, I will only tell you if you sign a paper stating that you will not tell my family. Because if my family finds out, this is terrible. If my family finds out, they will put me in the home. That's sad. He was scared. So, elderly people, your grandparents, great-grandparents, right? They're divorced, the spouse dies, whatever. They just want a companion, right? They're not looking for love. It's just like, I just want somebody to hang out with, go to lunch with, somebody to be a companion, go to the movies with. So they went online, fill out this information, and they get a call. They get a call from a place called Matchmaker. Matchmaker's here to help them find love. We are here to help you because we care about you. I was not a salesman, by the way. So they said, now, Ms. Smith, what we need you to do is come down to our office right here in Beaumont. We need you to fill out a few papers so that we can make sure we find you the best possible match because we care about you. Here's what happened. Senior citizens, they always had them come in by themselves, not in groups, always by themselves. There's a point for this. They were there for like 5 or 6 hours, filling out paper after paper, watching videos, checking things out. Now, I don't know about your grandparents, but think about really old people, even older than me, right? That when they're there somewhere that long, they end up getting tired, right? I want to go. I'm tired. I don't want to be here anymore. And then they get confused. High-pressure sales. They just want to go. Well, all the paperwork, right? The last paper they pulled out when they were starting to get tired, I want to go, I don't want to be here anymore. Financial qualifier. Key point here. Now, Ms. Smith, we want to match you with somebody that matches you kind of socioeconomically, kind of has your kind of money, kind of equal to you. Now, Ms. Smith, your checking account, now how much is in that checking account? Your credit card. Now, what's the credit limit on that Visa card? Okay, sitting here, you're thinking, nobody needs to know that, right? That's my business, not your business. But great salesman, high pressure. They're at the end of the thing. So here's the problem. They were signing criminal check, psychological check, match you socioeconomically. You all do not look like online daters to me, so I'm not going to say that. But if you were to sign up for that, 20 introductions of people who are just like you in your area, 20 introductions over a 4-week period of time, what do you think a reasonable amount to pay for that would be? Ballpark. Somebody tell me. $25. What are they going to get you for $25, man? I'm just kidding. So, I mean, what do you think? 100? I mean, there's a lot of services online. You sign up $39.95, whatever. It's not that expensive. I'm telling you, your jaw's going to drop. They were, again, God is my witness. They were charging seniors between $3,000 and $10,000. But they were tired. They're at the end. They pulled out the contract. They legal contract. They signed it. It was airtight. And the guy did it because he had done it before. And we knew that. So we finally met with him. And here's what was confusing to us. This is ethical failure, by the way, in case you hadn't figured it out. Our job is not to tell businesses what to charge. We can't tell a business that's too much or you can't charge that much. That's their business. But what concerned us was the prices were different, right? We could never figure out, okay, 20 introductions cost what? Well, 40 introductions cost what? Because consumers were telling us, I paid $3,000, I paid $10,000, I paid $8,000. Why was it different?
Depending on how much money they had.
Man wins a gold star. That's exactly right. Remember the financial qualifier? That's what they base the price on. Checking account, $10,000 in it, your price $10,000. Visa card, $3,000 limit, $3,000. So what we told them, and the company came in to meet with us because they wanted to be accredited. They want the legitimacy of the BBB. We said, here's our concern. Deceptive trade practice says that if you sell a product or service, it has to cost X, right? There is a price list. It can't, I mean, if it's 20 introductions, it's this. If it's 40 introductions, it's this. Where is your price list? Well, we really don't have that. It's kind of custom for each person. So he said, no problem. We'll get rid of the financial qualifier. We won't do that anymore, and we'll all be good. We want to be accredited. Sure he does. Well, he wasn't going to do it because that was his business model. So why did he get put in jail? Why did the government shut him down? Why? Because of deceptive trade practice. That's what we told him. If you do something, you've got to tell people up front what it costs. So, in conclusion, ethics, values, work ethics. It makes a huge difference in your life. And you'll think about this after today. Small choices about what's right, what's wrong. Do I want to become more ethical? Do I want to become less ethical? And what are the risks and rewards? Okay? Y'all been a great audience. I really appreciate it. My business cards are here.